an eye on those two cars. Nick Tandy is sitting in the pit box for the 911 Porsche, though. That'll be fun.
Stephen Simpson is off the road at driver's left into turn 6, but he's got the car running. Now, can he get it back on the circuit? Great work by Stephen, and also great patience from race control. He wasn't in harm's way, he was well out of the way, but they've let that develop, and we stay green.
Was there any contact? He and Ricky Taylor
were close.
Had been having that pretty stout battle.
Well, we'll see if we can find out that in a moment or two's time. 2 hours and 16 minutes to go. XM201, Sirius 216 around the circuit at 100.9 FM. And of course on the IMSA app and RS2, IMSA Radio around the world. Scott Atherton has joined us, the man at the head of IMSA. I bet when you got up this morning, Scott, you thought, who have I upset to get weather like this for 2 consecutive races? But it's actually turned out to be an absolute belter.
Well, you're a mind reader, because that's exactly when I peeked out the window. It was pitch black dark, but I could see the rain pouring down at the time. And with the firm image of the hours we spent in the rain at the Rolex 24 at Daytona, it was not a pleasant way to start the day. But I guess it's an example of it's not where you start, it's where you finish.
Nobody's moved. Nobody's moved. I know it wasn't particularly nice overnight, but this is a very big crowd. People came early as well this week.
Yeah, it's the crowd here clearly, by our estimates, the largest crowd ever at Sebring International Raceway. I can't speak to what happened back in the 50s and 60s, but in the modern era, there's no question this is the biggest crowd we've ever had.
The addition of the FIA WEC has certainly brought a few people across from Europe. A lot of our listeners are sending me texts, and in fact just got eyeballs on that Stephen Simpson issue from Chase P. Havison. The 912 had a sideswipe of him, and the full course caution comes out. Pits are closed, so something else has happened on the circuit. It's car 8, the Starworks car at turn 8, so on the run from the hairpin up to the back of Green Park there. The car still has its headlights on. This is the Starworks R8 LMS in the retro Audi colours. Well, we've gone full course yellow. And Jeremy?
3.5 hours since the last full course. Well, over 3.5 hours since the last full course caution.
Well, it's going to take a little while to get everybody sorted out. 912 and 84 under review after the incident at turn 5. Jamie?
I just checked in with Peter Bear and asked him what the problem is with that Starworks Audi, and he said it's the gearbox or it's the diff. We're not exactly sure, but either way, it's not good.
Okay, they're going to have to flat tow that car back to get it out of the way. Scott Atherton is with us, so we're not going to miss any racing. We'll keep an eye. The pits won't open for just a moment. This could be, I'm not sure it helps anybody really. Not quite in the window to go one from here for any of the GTD cars. Free pit stop for a GTLM.
Well, it's great news for the number 5 and number 10, because they were 40 or almost 50 seconds behind the overall race leader. That's going to shrink to nothing.
Yeah, but if they leave people in, he can do it again. You know, it's the people effect. Scott Atherton is here, and the FIA WEC here. Logistically, I've no clue how that all worked, because everybody had to collaborate and make that happen. Gerard Neveu's been very complimentary about what's gone on with IMSA. You've been very complimentary about what's happened with Gerard Neveu, as we've just seen a replay of the 912 and the 84 coming together. Stephen Simpson was already sideways trying to get around the car that he was having the battle with. There's a date in everybody's diary for this year, next year, for this event next year. It's on the FIA WEC calendar. Is it going to happen again next year, and will it happen the same way, or would they even think about coming back maybe separately?
Well, I certainly don't think that's the case, not a separate situation. There's nothing I'm aware of that would prevent us from doing this again. I think any time you have this level of an undertaking, both the logistical challenge, the operational challenge, and the financial challenge of putting all the infrastructure in place to be able to have this combined weekend, You would never do it if you thought it was one and done.
Yeah.
And I can speak on behalf of IMSA that it has exceeded our expectations, not without a long, long list of challenges, and the debrief from this weekend will be an extensive one, but that's for tomorrow. You know, what we're really focused on is what I think we've delivered to the fans here, which is an epic weekend of endurance sports car racing that, as far as we're concerned, is unmatched on a global scale.
I'll put my hands up. I think it's gone, you know, from looking at it from partially on the inside. Obviously, I don't know all the machinations, but there might have been a lot of paddling underneath, but it's been swan-like on the top. Everything, the split pit lanes worked really well. The running down into midnight last night for those guys really worked well. Is there anything that needs changing? There must have been lessons that you've learned. I'm not expecting you to give me chapter and verse.
It's not, you know, radical changes, but it's probably 1,000 fine-tuning examples. You know, credit where credit's due. This is a collaborative effort that involved the staff here at Sebring Raceway, the IMSA staff, the WEC staff, ACO, FIA, everybody participated here. If I had to pick a most valuable player, it would be the Sebring track staff, because they have borne
not
the
a huge
brunt.
staff, by
It's
the way.
not. It's a small group. It's led by Wayne Estes. Rick Humphrey looks after our IMSA properties. They and their team have done absolute yeoman work throughout just this week. You can't even describe it. It's been so extreme. But the planning for this goes back to the beginnings at September of 2017. That's when this idea first emerged. And Wayne and his team have just, they've come out of their shoes on this one. I think they're probably all going to be on a flatbed with IVs in their arm here before the end of the night. But we'll deal with that as we do.
Now, sports car, we're going at the prototype pit stops. We'll keep an eye on that just in case anything untoward happens. And we are getting the leader in. Shea, Adam, that's your end of things.
Yes, it is, which means that I'm getting the Whelen Engineering Cadillac rumbling by now, as you can hear in the background. Oh, almost disaster as it almost takes out its sister car's pit board. It is fuel only, and a clean of the headlights, which is always a valuable thing. Get rid of the Florida love bugs, though I haven't really seen many this time of year. The number 5 is also in. Let's see what they do to the Mustang sampling Cadillac. Fuel and tires for Philippe Albuquerque's car. That's going to be interesting. And for the number 10, the Konica Minolta Cadillac DPI VR, it is a driver change as Renger van de Zande's bright yellow helmet gets out, and that is Jordan Taylor's orange helmet getting back in. He's got a perfect record running the orange helmet since he swapped back from the dark black that he used last year, which was the Darth Vader theme. Let's see who gets out next. That would be the number 5, so the 5 beats the 10 out of the pits, which means it's Action Express 1-2, and then Konica Minolta.
I said I thought we might have a little bit of headline writing still to do. It's all closing up nicely. Scott Atherton is in the IMSA Broadcast Centre here overlooking the start-finish line at the Mobile One 12 Hours of Sebring, presented by Action Express. We're live from trackside with 2 hours and 8 minutes to go. Scott looking a little further down the line because we have to nowadays. That's the way things go. DPI has been tremendously successful. There's a DPI V2 to come, what, 22?
It is scheduled to begin competition in January 2022.
When does the discussions with manufacturers start, or have they already started?
They've started, and that's the lead time. When you work backwards from a Rolex 24 in January of 22, and you back up to the appropriate time when things need to be decisions made, budgets established, you know, buy-in at boardroom level type situations, it's none too early. So as I say, the conversations have begun, and we've got an extensive process that involves extracting information from our manufacturers. You know, what should the next generation include technically, performance-wise, styling-wise? There's a lot of variables that we can either retain or alter from the wonderful example that we have today.
How difficult is that working with the manufacturers, the OEMs, when things are moving so quickly nowadays? Even for the major manufacturers, the volume manufacturers, things seem to be coming on a shorter product cycle than ever before. 4 or 5 years, sometimes longer for some of the prestige manufacturers. Now you're looking at 12 to 18 months and things are getting refreshed. That must cause problems.
It does create a new
Challenges.
challenge. Yeah, for sure it's challenges. And we have the benefit of having great relationships with many of our OEs. There's 19 mainstream luxury and high-performance manufacturers involved with us. I don't think there's an exception out there where we don't have close ties with true decision makers, whether domestically, internationally, or all of the above. And we can have some really candid conversations with them. And you're right, the demands on all of the manufacturers now, not only for here and today, but the technology of what's coming and the capital requirements to fund that development. So it means your motorsports has to be relevant, and it has to be sustainable, and there has to be a value proposition represented that can command their embrace.
But you're in a better position you ever have been, because you've got DPI to show now and go. Do you remember when we talked about this before, and it was all a bit sort of in the air, it was a bit in the ether? We did it. Frankly, it's worked, because there's no point in hiding that light under the bushel, Scott. That sequence out. So, come on, you lot, let's get cracking. Surely that is an advantage.
It's a big advantage, and there's when you're working on assumption and simulation and estimates and all the things you just described, versus an actual example that's up and running, and to your point, has proven to be very successful. And I think it's the value proposition that's represented by this formula that just works. And we've said from the start, because we want to work closely with our strategic partners, the ACO. In a perfect world, we'd have a common global solution. But we've said from the beginning that if that global solution requires us to abandon some of the core elements of what we believe has made DPI successful, candidly, it's not an option for us.
No, indeed. Now, Gerard Neveu is the man at the head of the ACO, and he and Pierre Fillon, the head of the WEC, and he and the president of the ACO, Pierre Fillon, here this weekend, of course. Their regulations change a little bit earlier than yours, potentially, but they're having some trouble getting consensus with their manufacturers. There was a big, wide open door given by Gerard Neveu in his comments and the releases the other day about the potential of bringing the two top classes together somewhere around 2022. As fans, we're excited about that. Of course we are. What do the manufacturers think? Have we been able to even talk about it, or has it been talked about? And what's IMSA's point of view on that?
Well, that would be first prize for all involved, no
Simple
question.
as that.
Yeah, and I don't want to create false hope here, but I think for all the variables that you've described, the current state of play, both within the ACO and the FIA, and with our own process that candidly is early days, but still, when you look at the setting as we have it today, I think there is reason for hope. The good news is we're all together this weekend. We had some great conversations. The relationship has always been strong, certainly is today. There's always speculation about that. I think it makes for good conversation around a cold beer, but
it's a good headline.
We have a lot of common threads between us. We're essentially in the same business. Our focus is solely on North America. They have a much broader focus. We get that, but in light of all the things that have changed within the automotive industry that we've just discussed, it almost is. It's almost a requirement, as far as we're concerned, that we get together.
Can I play devil's advocate just for a second, because we're not missing any racing here at the moment? So there's no recalcitrance at all in that thought from IMSA to say, they might steal away one of our, the dangling of Le Mans for manufacturer X, Y, or Z. Oh, not really happy about that.
No, and
you know why I'm asking that? Because that's what people will say.
Yeah, I'm going to come back to the relationships I referred to, in that we'd like to believe that when we have these conversations with decision makers, not only the manufacturers that are currently actively competing with us, but others that have expressed interest, that you're getting factual, honest, transparent response. And they are very outspoken in their appreciation for what the DPI model represents today, and equally so, their eagerness to see a DPI 2.0, for lack of a better way to describe it, that does embrace some of the elements that the current example doesn't do. And what do I mean by that? Well, hybrid technology, for instance, that if you think ahead to 2022, that's probably inherent across just about every example of automotive technology in some form or another.
Is that doable at a price point that keeps the manufacturers here in DPI at the moment and potential private ears? Is that achievable at a price point that isn't stratospheric? Because that's clearly the worry.
We believe so, and it's early days in that process, but hybrid technology can take many, many different forms, and the current LMP1 model, which is an extreme example, obviously has an extreme financial implication connected to it. We have no interest in replicating that, but there are other opportunities that can be embraced that are relevant and are meaningful, but all very much cost-capped, cost-controlled, and fit what would be described as the same mindset, the same philosophy that is represented by the DPI today.
Scott, thank you very much indeed. On a much shorter term, we've got a cracking last couple of hours here, and then we're off to Long Beach for our next event. Looking forward to the season. It looks like another cracker, doesn't it?
Absolutely. If with the obvious exception of a little bit too much moisture involved in our first two outings here, what a fantastic season we've got. And with the introduction of Michelin as our
back into contention.
Right, okay. So that's
and in GT Daytona, we've got a sort of 7 or 8 car battle for the lead.
Do you remember what I said early on about, I said, the two Porsches, let's not write them off, because if they get back with a lead lap, they could be there. That could happen. Let's go down at the pits, and there have been some changes down there and some interest. We're back to green flag racing. Everyone's line astern. Jamie Howe, what went on at your end of pit lane?
Well, you remember when that caution came out, the number 44 Magnus Racing Lamborghini was leading. They are now back in the 5th position. That will move up just a little bit once that 86 car serves its penalty. They were beat off of pit lane by the number 33 and the number 63. That's the 33 Mercedes, the 63 Ferrari, Jeff Westphal behind the wheel. So those two teams legitimately ahead of them. At the lead at GT Daytona right now, Catherine Legg, she has yet to make a pit stop. She's been in the car now on this stint for over 24 minutes, so she still has some time left as well.
In GTLM, it is a completely different driving scene, save for Connor DeFilippi, who, as Jeremy rightly said, pitted just before the caution came out. In the number 67 Ford, the one that has been leading most of the day, that is Ryan Briscoe taking in. He is expecting to take that car to the finish. Mike Rockenfeller, a bit of a surprise, getting back behind the wheel of the number 3 Corvette. We were expecting to see Antonio Garcia and Jan Magnussen each doing single stints to the end of the race, but they've decided that Rocky looked a little bit fresher. Joey Hand taking the number 66 Ford Chip Ganassi Racing GT to the checkered flag. He came out in the 3rd position. Then it's Nick Tandy for the number 911 Porsche, John Edwards for the 24 BMW, Connor we already know about in the 25, and it was Larry who is being given the final driving duty for the number 912 Porsche.
That would be some kind of irony if he was getting the redemption after making the mistake that negated their qualifying lap time. Jeremy Shaw scribbling away like mad here. This has really been set up perfectly now. I mean, it's artificial, obviously, because of the safety car, but it's had
That's
to
the
be.
way it is over here.
Yeah,
I
had
love
to
it.
be done. But we had. What did you say? 3
racing.
hours and what?
Beg pardon?
3 hours and what?
Yeah,
of green flag?
3 hours and 50 minutes. Best part of.
I thought that was a stunning run.
Yeah.
That nearly 4 hours of racing. It's still set up perfectly well. Peter Durrani has got to do it all again, this time with the rather more close attentions of Jordan Taylor. And
yeah.
in GT Le Mans, it's all on again for pretty much the whole field of cars now. Indeed, the top 8, the top 7, it is only the Ollie Gavin Corvette that had the alternator belt issue and the half shaft problem earlier on that is out of contention there.
Number 911 Porsche, Nick Tandy, just snuck past Joey Hand by, fractions on that last lap. And number 24 BMW right with him as well. This is a super battle.
That was at turn 1, and he went up the inside, found some space towards the inside wall there. and went through. I've got to tell you, I think that they've got a real opportunity here. The Mazda took a lap back at the start, drove around the outside of the leaders on the restart.
Okay, well, he made life difficult for himself because he could have been a whole lap ahead of that if they hadn't made that pit stop when they did.
Well, Harry Tinknell has got the hurry up, and he's still almost 2 laps down. He's disappeared away from the leaders by a reasonable margin, so we'll have to keep an eye on that one as well. Under 2 hours to go, and this is where the people on the pit wall earn their money. The LED palm trees are switched on the outside of turn 4, which is all is right with the world. 67 leads Ryan. This is Ryan Briscoe leading the GT Le Mans category. He comes under the Advanced Auto Park bridge just to our left, across the line and down into turn 1. He's got a prototype coming up behind him, which is one of the Acuras. And then the Corvette is there, Mike Rockenfeller, not too far back. Where are we going to look here, Jeremy?
Yeah, well,
we've got a battle at the front of the field with 3 cars, the whole GT Le Mans field in it, and about half a dozen to 8 of the GT Daytona field could still win this. This is absolutely crazy at the moment.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Wherever you look, you can't go far wrong because there are some just great battles. There's 2 cars that got their lead lap, by the way, in Daytona prototypes, number 7 and number 54. They did exchange positions during that pit stop. So it's now the number 7 of Ricky Taylor ahead of Romain Dumas.